Hello, welcome to Integrate. I'm Rhiannon. Today we're going to be doing a hack video on bar SideLying position. So there's a few things happening on why SideLying position might be more difficult on one side than the other, or might feel like a very uncomfortable position. So there's a few things happening here. Majority of people tend to favor the right side, where they always like to send more of their weight into the right side. So what this does is causes shortened obliques on the right side as your rib cage goes closer to your belt line, and a lower right shoulder, and a little bit more lengthening on the left sides in your obliques. So when we come to the bar, we're starting with this in balance. So that means when we do SideLying on our right side, we come into that first position and we tip over, that we're already coming into bringing our ribs closer to our belt line. We don't really actually have much we need to do there because it's already there, and then we already had that lengthening. And that means we have a little bit more lengthening here, so we have a bit more work to do to actually lift that leg up. And then you have to be able to lift out of that crunch a little bit, lengthening as you lift up, which that can be the hard thing. If you're crunched in on that right side and then you're having to lengthen to come up, sometimes that doesn't feel good. And then reversely, when we're on the left side, we're starting at that lengthened position, so we're crunching down, and then we're creating that length here, and then we're just lifting our leg up back into the starting point where we usually like. And that's why the left side tends to feel a little bit better than the right side. So our hacks today are going to be addressing that imbalance so that we have a more evening starting ground and ability to get into that side lift. So our first hack is going to be down on the mat for our breathing. We're going to need something to come into our side body here. So I have this nice pillow. You can use a rolled up yoga mat, a pillow, a blanket, a yoga block. The yoga block doesn't feel as great, but it does work. And you're going to need some kind of weight. I'm going to use this 8-pound weight. If you have a child in the house, having them come and sit on you works wonders. I do that a lot too. So coming down onto here, you're going to take whatever you're having, and you want it to be right on the crest of your hip here. So you want that crest of your hip and that space that's between your rib cage and your hip bone. And you're just going to come down, legs coming to 90, and then you're going to take that weight and try to find that crest of your hip here, and then you're going to do it where you're kind of pressing it forward a little bit. And then, so you can do that, or like I said, you can have someone come and sit here. That actually feels really good. And we're going to connect to our breath. We're going to inhale, feel that side rib cage expanding. Exhale, pressing you a little bit more into whatever is underneath you. And we're going to do this for about 5 to 8 breaths. We'll do one more round of breath here. Full inhale in. Full exhale, bringing that rib cage down towards your belt line. And then we'll switch to the other side. So that was my right side, and now I'm coming on to my left side. The left side is the one that needs it a little bit more. So those legs to 90, bringing it down, finding that hip bone, shifting the stack, putting that weight on it, coming into that breath. So what's happening, especially when you're on your left side, is the thing that's underneath you is helping stretch out that right side. The weight is pushing your pelvis a little bit more into external rotation on the top, which is what we need for that right leg to come out. So we'll just finish up those breaths. One more full inhale here. Full exhale, bringing those ribcage down. And we'll set that weight aside and the pillow. And then we'll go to our strengthening hack. So we're going to come down onto our sides for our kind of setting up for a variation in side plank. So arm pressing down, lifting out of that rib cage. You're going to have your legs more like about 60 degrees here. And we're going to press up into that plank, making sure to press your hips up like this. And you want to be thinking about arm lifting. So you're kind of that little bit of a crunch coming down. So we're on our right side. So we are strengthening that side even though it's tight. And then if this feels good, you can reach your hand out and think about shifting that top leg down towards the mat. You don't really want that leg to take the weight from the bottom leg, but you want it to work your way towards where you're hitting the ground. And we're just going to breathe here for a few seconds. Nice engaged core, feeling that ab work on that bottom side. And then we'll release down, and then we'll hit that left side again. Again, the left side is the one that needs it a bit more because that's the weaker side, or in this case. So pressing that hand down, lifting up. Those legs are about at 60. Lifting that hip up and forward. Reaching that arm, sliding that leg. Your hips are staying in place. You're just sliding that leg forward. And then holding. So the right side is lengthening. You're trying to bring your rib cage down to your belt line on each exhale. It's going to be a little bit harder on this side to actually, where you really feel the obliques engaging. Couple more breaths here. And we'll release down. Now we'll come up and hit a little bit of mobility. So maybe using a chair or whatever you like to use for your side lying position. But we're going to have our right leg forward, left leg back, and a little bit of a lunge. We're going to shift our weight into that foot. And and then we're going to think about compressing our arch down. So pressing into that big toe, sending our knee a little bit more towards that second toe. And so from here, we're going to play with opening that hip up and closing. So you can always grab onto something if you need. But as you open up that hip, you can feel that arch lift. Exhale, the arch comes down. So we're rotating that pelvis on that femur. And while you're doing this, think about lifting the rib cage up on that right side. Engaging those left obliques. Let's do a couple more on this side. And we'll roll out that ankle and we'll do the other side. Stepping that leg forward, leg back just for support, shifting that weight right down into that heel. Feel that arch collapse down into the floor. And then we'll lift up, arch of the foot lifting, and then back. You can always make this harder by floating the foot if you have the balance. We're just focusing on collapsing that arch and lifting it. You move that pelvis on that standing femur. Do a couple more. We'll shake it out. Come to our bar. We'll bring our feet into that first position. A little bit in the knee. Then we're going to tip over into that right side. Finding that, pointing that toe, finding that length. Remember to kind of lift out of that right side. Find that little bit of a length there. And then we'll lift the leg and lower, bringing that rib cage to the belt line and releasing. Holding it for a second. Feel it. Feel that lift in that arch of the foot and relax. Now we'll try the left side. Coming into that first position, tipping over, pointing the toes. Feel that nice stretch in the left side. Gauge the left. And then let's try lifting and lowering. Feel that lift in that arch of your foot. Lifting up, finding that crunch on both sides. And release. So that is our hack video for side-lying position in bar. I hope that helped. I'll see you in the next video.